Hi everyone, thanks so much for joining me today. Welcome to my craft room. If you are new here, welcome. If you're a returning viewer, welcome back. Since the last episode, the channel has hit and then surpassed 3,000 subscribers. So it's really exciting. Thanks so much to everyone who subscribed and has been following along. And yes, welcome if you are new. Thanks for coming and checking out the channel. So this is the I Heart Knitting YouTube channel. My name is Laura, and you can find me on the rest of the internet as I Heart You, which is spelled E-W-E. So that is my Instagram handle. That is the name of my Etsy shop where I sell handmade project bags. And you can find me on Ravelry as I Heart You Knits. And I will have all of that down in the description down below. And yeah, I have kind of a different episode for you today. I haven't really done a ton of knitting, to be honest, but I was really excited about that 3,000 subscribers and wanted to do like a little giveaway. So I thought I would pop on here and just catch up with you anyways, even though I haven't been doing much knitting. So I put up on Instagram the other day, and then here on YouTube, I asked if anyone had any questions for a Q&A segment. And I got a few questions from people, so I thought that I would answer some questions while we were here. And I also have some project bags to show you, so yeah, stick around if any of that sounds interesting to you. Yeah, first thing, I will just show you the progress I've made on the one knitting project that I've worked on, but it's not very impressive, so don't get too excited or anything because it hasn't changed a lot since you saw it last. So the last episode I showed you my new self-striping socks that I'm working on, and I think I was maybe to here. And since then, in the last 2 weeks, apparently this is all I've managed to do is like 5 stripes and a heel. So not very impressive. I just haven't been knitting. We talked about this a little bit last time, or I talked about it. I just have a lot going on right now. We've got like many projects on the go, and so I'm just not knitting a lot. And especially when I'm working on project bags and things, that's quite a creative outlet, and it's also like not the easiest on my hands and my arms to be working, cutting fabric and doing all that stuff all day. So yeah, anyways, I just haven't been knitting a lot. My arms and my brain and everything just need a rest. So this is my progress. So these are self-striping socks made out of Knit Picks Felice yarn. Really fun, bright, springy colorway. I think it's called Hopscotch. Yes, it is. So it's called Hopscotch. That's how it looks like in the ball. And I just found this very woolly, very rustic gray sock yarn in my stash. I don't even have a tag for it. And that's what I'm using for the heels. And I think that'll actually work pretty well because I'm just doing the fish lips heel, so it doesn't have any texture or anything to help with the wear on the heel. So hopefully this rustic will help the heel wear a little better in the long term and just be a little more heart wearing. But yeah, that's it, my friends. Just a few little stripes on a sock. 64 stitch sock, 2.25 millimeter needles, just like I always do. And it's in this bag from the Mariner's Daughter, which is in Lunenburg, Nova Scotia. So yeah, that's really literally all the knitting I've done. Not very impressive, I know. But like I said, I have some other things to show you. So the first thing I wanted to do was do a little bit of a giveaway. Now, I've never done a YouTube giveaway before, but I would like to try it out. So I'll have you comment down below if you want to enter for this giveaway. Let me know when you started watching the channel. If you've been watching since the beginning, or if you've only watched a couple episodes, or if you watch occasionally. How about that? Comment down below, and then I will... What I'm going to do is, I'm thinking about this all on the fly right now. What I'm going to do is, on the next video, I will announce the winner, and then you can get in contact with me that way. I think that'll work. So either way, so this is what I'm going to do for the giveaway. I have one of my square sock size bags in this really fun rainbow and roller skate print. It has like another bright kind of print on the inside. And then I have this yarn from Seawall Fibers, which I believe is also in Nova Scotia. Yes, it is. And it is just this really fun skein of sock yarn with a lot of kind of similar colors going on to the roller skate bag. So I thought that would be a fun combo. So yeah, the Seawall Fibers color is called Neon Marble, and it just has a bunch of really fun speckles in it on like a really neutral base. So yeah, if you would like to win that, I will also include another few little goodies in here as well. So yeah, comment down below and let me know how long you've been with the channel, and I will enter you into the draw for this prize. So yes, thank you so much for supporting the channel by subscribing and liking and commenting. I really appreciate it, and it's really just really great to have this outlet and way of connecting with people. So thank you for that, and that's just a little something that I wanted to do to give back to you all. And yeah, so then I think what I'm gonna do is I'm going to do the questions and answers now, and then at the very end I will show you what's going in the Etsy shop. So thank you if you are one of those people who dropped a question when I asked about it. So I had a message from someone on Ravelry actually, and I'm going to respond to them through Ravelry messages, but I thought that we could talk about it here as well. They were asking about splicing a new yarn and adding a new ball with the Knit Picks Superwash Merino that I'm using for my Cozy Classic Raglan. So if you don't know, splicing is a method of joining non-superwash wool yarns where you kind of take the two ends and you open up all the fibers, and then with a little bit of heat and a little bit of moisture and friction, you can rub those two ends together and splice the yarn so that you don't have to weave the ends in. So this person was asking how I am dealing with adding a new ball of yarn when I have to add on my Cozy Classic Raglan, joining my new yarn when I can't splice. So I do splice sometimes. It is a really useful technique. I especially like to use it when I'm doing scrappy projects where you have a lot of ends to weave in. It does definitely work best with a non-superwash yarn. Yeah, it's not my go-to though. I did that on like my Nurtured sweater because it was a non-superwash. But normally what I would do if I'm joining a new ball of yarn is I just join a new ball of yarn wherever my old ball of yarn ends. So in the round, that can be at the beginning of the round, that can be 2/3 of the way through the round. It doesn't really matter as long as it's not going to make an aesthetic difference on your sweater. And so what I normally do is I will just drop my one working yarn and then pick up my new working yarn from the new ball and just keep knitting my next stitch with that. And you know, it might get a little loose before you weave the ends in, but once you weave the ends in, you can adjust that tension and that spot will disappear. And then when I weave the ends in, I will weave them in the opposite way of where I was knitting. So say you end with the one ball of yarn and you start with a new one, you're going to weave your ends for this one in this way, and you're going to weave your ends through for the old ball in through this way, so that you kind of create a crisscross there and there's not a hole. So hopefully that makes sense. I've never had an issue with that. I don't have a problem with starting a ball halfway through the round or anything like that. Hopefully that helps answer your question. I think Sammy's gonna come visit. I hear some little toes click clacking. Sammy, come here. Come over here. Come here. I'm trying to get his face in the frame. There he is. Hi, baby. This is Sammy. If you haven't met him before, he comes and says hello sometimes on the podcast. He is my senior Labrador Coonhound mix. He's 12 and a half, and he's a good boy, aren't you? So yeah, thank you, Alicia, for that question. So the next question I had was sewing. If someone was wondering how long I've been sewing and how did I learn. So I started sewing in about 2014. I got a sewing machine as a gift from my parents for Christmas. And yeah, so I think that was Christmas of 2013 and started learning in early 2014. And then I opened the Etsy shop soon after that, actually. But the Etsy shop originally had a focus more on hand knit things and then shifted towards hand sewn things later. Yeah, I guess we're coming on 8 years now of sewing. And how I learned, so I learned a little bit when I was like young, like a little kid, and not much of it kind of had stuck really. And I don't think I worked very much with the machine when I was that little either. So I didn't really know a lot. I was kind of starting from scratch, but I was really lucky in that my mother-in-law, a very accomplished garment sewist, so her family actually owned like a dress shop in Kitchener, Ontario. Going back to, the idea of a dress shop where they were actually making the dresses in house. Either way, so she is very, very accomplished. She used to do garment sewing, when my husband and his siblings were young. She used to do garment sewing for extra money and stuff like that. So she came out to visit from Ontario, and it was awesome because we just went to the thrift store and we picked up some scraps of fabric, like just some random fabric to play with, and we went through the manual and my machine together, and she gave me a ton of pointers. So I was really lucky in that. But if you don't have a mother-in-law who can help you along with that, I would recommend going to your local sewing shop because they're incredibly helpful, especially if you're buying a machine from a sewing shop. At least my local shop, Sawyer Sewing Center in Victoria, they will sit down with you and they will teach you how to use your machine and teach you some basics. And then from there, I would say YouTube is a great resource, or just the internet in general, as well as like any other social media. Crafty Gemini is a YouTube channel that I have used tutorials from before. And then lots of different blogs and things. I actually like sewing instructions in written like blog style rather than on a video. I find I have to watch videos over and over and over again to get it. I just find that easier to follow. But yeah, if you are new, be very careful with free patterns, because a lot of free patterns kind of assume that you know how to sew already, and some of them are just not very well executed or engineered in the first place. So just beware of that instead as well. So someone else actually asked a very similar question. They said, where should someone who wants to learn sewing start? And I would definitely say start with either someone you know who can sew, or go to your local sewing shop and see if they can do some instructional time with you. That would definitely be the best way to go. And if you don't have access to that, I understand that I live on an island. It's hard for me to get places sometimes. I would then turn to the internet. The next question was, what is your favorite style of bag to make? And that's actually a good question. I really like making the big bucket bags. They're really fun. They come together really nicely. It's a really well written pattern by Stitch Mischief. But I think still my favorite style of bag to sew is my sock size bag. Here, I'll just grab you one. This is my favorite bag. I knit a lot of socks, and this is one of my favorite bags to use for knitting socks. It's a little bit wider than it is tall, and you can actually put two different balls of yarn like down side by side if you're working two at a time. And I actually really love sewing these. These are my original project bag that I designed for the shop. And it's funny because I thought they were really big when I started making them, and now they look really small compared to all my other bags. But this is still my favorite style of bag to make, just because it comes together really quickly, and I've probably made like hundreds and hundreds of these at this point. Those are my favorite, and I try and always make sure there's lots of them in the shop, and I actually keep them at like a slightly lower price point, just just because it's nice to do that. The next question is, so I had two different questions that actually kind of connect with each other. So I'll read them both out and then answer them. So the first question was, have you always lived on the island that you live on now? And then the next question was from someone who knows me a little bit better, and they said, what made you leave Ontario for a fresh start out west? So no, I haven't always lived on the island that we live on now. If you don't know, I live on an island in the Southern Gulf Islands, which is the south of BC, Canada. So I'm in BC, Canada, and I'm right in between the city of Vancouver and our capital city of Victoria, which is on a big island called Vancouver Island. So yeah, so there's the mainland, there's a big island called Vancouver Island, and then I'm on a little island kind of in between those two. Yeah, a lot of Canadians know the Gulf Islands, and then I would say a lot of Americans would know the San Juan Islands, which are just literally like a kilometer or two south. I'm very close to the Canada-US border. And yeah, I originally grew up in Ontario. I grew up near Barrie, Ontario, kind of Georgian Bay area. And I lived there all my childhood, and then moved down to Kitchener-Waterloo for school. That's where I met my husband. I also have a lot of family connections in that area. I have family there as well. And then we moved out west. There was no big reason for us to pick up and leave BC. We have our family there. We love our family. We had jobs there. We liked our jobs and everything. But it was about 12 years ago. So we were just in our early mid-20s. And I just really loved it out here. I had visited out here. And I have an aunt and uncle who live here on the island as well. And so we came to visit them, and we were going to kind of hang out for a bit and try and find jobs and places to live in Victoria, but we just never left here. We ended up finding work and finding a place to live here on the island. So yeah, just for perspective, the island, you could probably drive from one side to the other, in about 20 or 25 minutes or so. There's a population of about 3,000 people on the island, so it's very small. It's a small community. It's not for everyone. It's interesting. We took the ferry and went to town on Wednesday this week, and the ferry was late in both directions, so it was delayed by an hour, but you still have to get there 45 minutes to an hour before the posted time that it's supposed to leave to make sure you can get on and get a spot on the ferry. So these are just things that over the last 12 years we've slowly gotten used to, but if you're new, it can be really weird for some people, the idea that if you don't own a boat, you can't leave, you're stuck on this little island. We really love it here. I grew up in a rural area. I like rural living, country living. It's hard to describe it if you have never been to a place like this, and you're either really love it or you're not into it. But it's a beautiful place. I tried to do a vlog thing for you and video me us driving on the ferry and driving off, and I forgot, and I might insert some video here, but or some photos, but they're not very good. They weren't very good, so you're probably not going to see that. And then the last question, someone asked, what's my favorite sweater that I've knit? So my favorite sweater that I've knit ever is the first sweater that I've ever knit. It's just so funny. But I still love it. So this is my Central Park hoodie. This is, I can't remember if we decided, is it a Vogue knitting pattern or was it an interweave pattern? Either way, it's called the Central Park hoodie. You can find it if you search for that. And I knitted out of tacky yarns, Donegal tweed. It's one of the first things I knit, way back when I learned to knit, which is going back about 15 years now, and it's held up incredibly well. I've reknit the cuffs a few times, but it was just one of those happy accidents. I had no idea what I was doing. I knitted on giant, like boy brand Michaels straight plastic knitting needles, and I seamed it all together. The seaming is particularly interesting. I'm not sure what I was doing, but it stayed together, so I guess that's good. But yeah, this is my favorite sweater I've ever knit. It's just a great basic. This is never going to go in or out of style. It's just going to be a good sweater for a really long time. As I said, it's already probably 15 years old. And my newest favorite sweater is another great basic, which you've seen a lot because I feel like I've been talking about it a lot. This is the Nurtured Sweater by Andrea Mowry. This is knit out of a Wool of the Andes. It's not Wool of the Andes. It's Knit Picks. What is it called? Simply Wool. Knit Picks Simply Wool worsted. And it's just in this really nice neutral color. And again, this is just a nice basic, so say this is my favorite pullover and the other one is my favorite cardigan. So yeah, thank you so much for all your questions. I really appreciate that. Hopefully that was interesting. Hopefully you learned something. And then the last thing I just want to show you is some of the bags I've been working on for the Etsy shop update. So the Etsy shop update is going to be on Saturday the 26th. I do always post on Instagram when new bags go in the shop, like immediately. So if you are looking for something specific and you want to try and catch it, you can turn on post notifications for a couple days, and then you can just turn them off afterwards if you want to, but then that way you won't miss a post, you'll get a notification. But that being said, I don't usually have like updates that like sell super quickly. Usually they kind of sell out, things will sell over the day or over the weekend. So so don't feel like you've missed out if you couldn't get there right away. There's usually stock left. I have stock left from lots of the other updates. Some things sell right away and some things sit. So either way, right now what I have finished are a lot of medium-sized bags, and they're all kind of rainbowy print. This is a really beautiful Allison Glass print that came out, I think it came out maybe a year and a half ago. And the sunlight's just coming in the window right now. Either way, really pretty print, kind of rainbowy, but not like super rainbowy. It's not quite as bright as that, but beautiful, bright, saturated colors. This darker one, and then this is the same design in a lighter color, and then this is like kind of rainbow, like botanical print. There's different moths, and there's a mushroom there, and a strawberry, and all sorts of plants. And then I have that in the lighter one as well. And then this is an old Caterina Roccella print that I love so much. This is one of my favorite all-time fabrics, this one and the next one. And I just did this bright green on the inside, and this one too. This is the same, same fabric style, but different colors. Oh, I just love it so much. And I did black on here. So those are the ones that are like finished, and then I have a couple others that are still in progress that I'm finishing up this afternoon. So I have one sock size, one cut, just with this like lightning bolt fabric. And then I've got, this is a large size in that Caterina Roccella print. And then I have it in the dark print as well. That's going to be the pocket for the inside of that one. So my large bags have a pocket and a handle on the side. And then I did this one as well. Since I was doing the rainbow print, I had a couple other, like I had that lightning bolt fabric, and I had this one that has this sort of little like rainstorms. So I thought I would include those two as well. So I've got that in a large bag as well. Yeah, so I also made some lavender pouches this week. I haven't made any lavender sachets in a while, so I made a little stack of them. So these are little fabric pouches. They're filled with a mix of local Cowichan Valley grown lavender and a little bit of rice, which acts as kind of like a moisture regulator. And these are great for freshening up things that are in your storage. They're great for your knitting bags. Lavender will naturally repel pests and moths as well, so it adds a little bit of protection to your wool storage. This is a really fun canvas print that I just had a small bit left of with these bees, so I added that into our little pile here. Yeah, they're great. I use them all over the place. I use them for storing knits. I use them in my long-term whip project bags just to keep them kind of smelling fresh. And they're amazing gifts. You know, anyone who has, you know, wool that they need to store, not necessarily knitters, they're just lovely. Like, lots of people like these sachets. You don't have to, you know, they're not just for knitters, which I think is nice. They smell amazing. They smell so good. That Cowichan Valley lavender is really, really nice. Yeah, so I have a few of those going in the shop as well. Thanks so much for joining me. Thanks for hanging out today. Hopefully that wasn't too scattered. I'm feeling very distracted right now. I have a little bit of work to finish up, and then that's it for me for the week. And I'm excited about that. So feeling a little distracted, but yeah, I really appreciate you sticking around if you're still here. And yeah, I think that's it. Thanks for hanging out. Thanks for helping me get to 3,000 subscribers on my channel. That's really awesome. And I'll be seeing you again in a couple weeks with hopefully some more knitting updates for you. Okay, take care.